Hello and welcome back to Rediscovering You. Today I am so excited to introduce to you Ami Dave. Ami is a PA for the past 20 years and has now created her own beautiful coaching business where she's inspired to help women with very particular struggles in their personal wellness life. And I'm so looking forward to this conversation that we are about to have today. Ami, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. I'm excited to be here.
If you wouldn't mind, can you just please introduce yourself, share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So like you said, I'm Mami Deve. I became a PA many years ago because I wanted to help people. And I realized pretty quickly in my career that I couldn't do much in a 15-minute appointment slot, but I didn't know there were other options at that time. So I just kept going. um, and then my PA career took a pause, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 9 years. And then I went back to school, got another PA job, got burnout, had my own health struggles that I went through. And once I healed myself, and I was like, oh, I never learned this in PA school. Like, this is not something your doctors know either. And it was a more intuitive way of living. And if you've heard of cycle syncing or, living in tune with your menstrual cycle, these are new and emerging wellness topics. And I tried it on myself, and I was so amazed that I felt like a new woman. And then I knew I wanted to teach this to other women. So I decided to become a wellness coach, and here I am.
I love this for you. This is so amazing. So, for people listening, what is cycle syncing?
So, in that one sentence, if you're a woman and you have monthly cycles, your body goes through 4 different phases every month. And in each phase, you need different nutrients, and you need to exercise differently if you want your body to perform in optimal health. And so, if you know about any like medical studies or anything, they're mostly done on male participants. And males don't have this monthly cycle. So their hormones fluctuate in a 24-hour period. And that's how the cycles, I mean, that's how the studies are done. That's how we're told to eat. That's how we're told to exercise based on the male model. And now we're learning that in this monthly cycle, a woman's hormones are fluctuating. They're very high. They go from low to high. They're all over the place. And there are certain nutrients like B vitamins or zinc or iron that you need in different phases of the menstrual cycle to help you, feel good, live without symptoms. And the same goes for exercises too. So you can't be doing cardio every day of the month. Your body needs a variety of cardio, strength training, Pilates, yoga, and you have to do the right exercise in the right phase, again, for your body to work in harmony.
This is so interesting because I agree with you that this is not something that is taught. And I did not go to PA school, but I can speak just for my own education. Like nobody talks about this and how, as a woman, you need to be paying attention to the entirety of your cycle and be making mindful choices about what you put into your body and how you move your body in different phases of your cycle. And that's so this is, I think, going to be new information for a lot of people that are listening. I am going to be honest, this is new information or newer information for me as well. Can you talk about the differences that you've experienced in your physical, psychological, emotional existence since you started cycle syncing?
Yep. And this information was new to me, even as a healthcare provider. So um, it's an emerging topic, and it's gaining momentum in the last maybe 15, 20 years. So it's relatively new. Um, Before I started cycle syncing, I had 3 kids, so I was busy.
Yeah.
I had a lot of monthly symptoms. So every month I would have cramping, bloating, I was irritable and yelling at everybody for like a week. And then I also had heavy bleeding. And during COVID, I had kind of heard about cycle syncing before, but I hadn't done anything about it. But during COVID, I had all this free time all of a sudden. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to fix myself. I'm tired of feeling sick, not feeling great, being exhausted all the time. And so I started doing some research on cycle syncing and I started implementing the techniques a little bit at a time. You can't do it all at once. And I'm still learning today, but a little bit at a time. And I just changed the way I ate, which foods I was eating, at certain weeks. I changed the way I was exercising and I started sleeping better. Like, just making sure I get at least 7 hours of sleep a night, which I wasn't getting before. And doing those three things in 4 months, my symptoms went away.
Went away.
Went away. I was so like shocked.
Wow.
I didn't have cramping. I was less irritable. Like even my family was like, "Wow, you're not yelling as much as you're used to." I felt better. I had more energy. I wasn't bleeding as heavy. Like I didn't know that I just thought this was a way to live, right? I didn't know
Yes.
that you could alter it until I tried it for myself. And then I've seen stories of other women who have done it and how much better they just feel after just a few months.
That's incredible. And yeah, like, and not only does it improve your quality of life, but for all of the men listeners out there too, happy wife, right? Just think about if you could avoid having those monthly hormone fluctuations and the pain. And I know for some women it is so debilitating where you don't want to get out of bed. And so you might lose a day of productivity or whatever, because you're just physically unable to function. So you're helping yourself and you're helping your loved ones just by taking care of you. And it's
Yes.
so intuitive. It really like I love that where what you're talking about, I never once heard you say pill or medication or anything like that.
No,
Okay.
no. And that's one of my mantras that I use is happy mom, happy kids,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
healthy mom, healthy kids. So, yes, my husband and my boys are very appreciative that I don't yell as often. Um, and, just after my physical symptoms got better, then I started working on my mindset and my mental focus and my clarity got better. Now I'm more present when they're actually talking to me and I'm listening to their stories, right? I'm not distracted or exhausted or anxious and worried about 10 other things. I'm listening to what they're saying. And then from there, it keeps going. Like I was working on my spirituality and my, living in a higher frequency and all this stuff. So it's just an evolving process. And like I said, I'm still learning today.
And I think that's so beautiful that when your physical symptoms became alleviated, it just gave you so much more bandwidth to be able to tap into your other gifts and to be able to cultivate them and grow other parts of yourself, whether it's spirituality. And I don't know if this is along the same time that you started your own coaching business. Where does that fall into this equation?
Yeah, so I never thought I would do anything different than be a PA, right?
Mhm.
But again, once I saw my own results and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I got to teach it to other people. And when I started working with my own coaches, I learned how to do mindset shifts and think at a higher frequency and learned all about, the law of attraction and all of these things that were never on my radar. I never thought of them as a PA. You don't,
They don't teach that,
they don't teach
right?
that. We were
Should.
all very scientific and even PA school, medical school, it's very disease oriented. So here's the disease, here's how you treat it. There's not very much on how to prevent diseases,
Hmm.
which you can do with lifestyle changes. So I had to go back and I went back to school. I, did a lot of research and learning on my own. And with each of these things, I think I just grew a little bit. And Now I can help my clients in ways I never could when I was working in clinic.
And I want to go back to a comment you made when we first started talking is that your sessions as a PA were about 15 minutes long.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's a tall order to ask for, significant changes in your health within 15-minute session. And now you've made the decision that there's more for you and that you want to be able to use your knowledge and your gifts and your expertise in a way that feels more aligned with what you're hoping to give to other women. What has it been like to you to shift from like this ultra scientific medical model to being able to be more intuitive, maybe more spiritually aligned? How has that felt for you and your evolution?
It's great. So if you've ever gone to a doctor, you know that they are double booked.
Okay, yeah,
They are
totally.
always running behind, right? And
Hmm.
you end up waiting maybe an hour, hour and a half in the waiting room. It's not uncommon. And in those 15 minutes, we have to ask all our questions, figure out what's wrong, and give you things to do to fix it, whether it's medication, whether it's lifestyle changes. And the good doctors, they have a printout listed of, the Mediterranean diet is great for you, or you need to cut back on your caffeine, or whatever their recommendations are. They usually have it printed out on a paper if they're good. If they don't, they'll mention it to you in the office, and they'll say, here, you need to go cut out your caffeine or go lose 20 pounds or whatever if you want to prevent cancer, diabetes, and all these things that are running in your family. And patients leave the office with this paper, right? And they go home and they're like, what do I do? Where do I start? It's overwhelming.
Hmm.
And again, before I started learning about all this, my doctors would tell me all of these things, and I would go home and be like, okay, so how do I start a Mediterranean diet? How do I cut back on my caffeine? How do I lose the weight? Like, I didn't know. I had to research, I had to learn, I had to go ask people. And again, when you see your patients back in the clinic in 6 months or a year, and you say, how are you? And everything's the same.
Yeah.
They didn't make their changes, and you're like, oh, God, but I told you to do this. And now, as a coach, I spend 60 minutes with my clients once a week.
What a difference.
Yes, and I can sit with them and we take one thing at a time. So I'm not giving you a whole sheet of like, here's your exercise, here's your meal plan, here's your sleeping. Okay, we're going to pick one thing and work on it. And in my one-on-one programs, it's totally customizable. So if you tell me your diet's great and you don't want to work on that, fine, let's work on exercise, or let's work on sleep or stress reduction or whatever you're struggling with. And it's a completely different way of helping people. And I'm actually seeing better results and longer term results because we're shifting their whole life.
That makes so much sense. I mean, just hearing you put it so simply, it seems so obvious, like 15 minutes once a year versus 60 minutes once a week. Obviously, you're going to have more high touch, individualized, personalized attention. And of course, you're going to have bigger and better results. It just makes me think like this whole medical model it needs such an overhaul. And I'm so thankful that coaching is a practice and it's becoming more known and more acceptable now because you're able to find a niche area and really that you have such love and passion about what you clearly do about this topic and really help people deeply, and there's no way a 15-minute session once or twice a year could provide the level of attention that clients could and should have in order to reclaim their lives. I mean, really,
Yeah.
you're giving people back their lives, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
And because I'm a provider, I also like to think I'm helping my colleagues out, because if my clients are going back to their doctors and their blood pressure is lower, their blood sugar levels are lower, it's making the job easier for the doctors who are overworked, overbooked,
Yeah.
stressed out and busy.
Yeah, no, that's so right. And it doesn't have to be an either or. And I hope nobody listening to this takes it as that, but this is just a beautiful compliment to
Yes.
to weave into your practice for self-care.
Yes.
And yeah, and I think, and I love that, like I said a moment ago, I think it's great that coaching and the different vehicles that coaching can look like are just becoming more talked about and known because I think even 5, 10 years ago, people didn't know there's like very specific coaches that are out there that can help you through this. And I think this topic it resonates. I mean, half the population of slightly more are female and are dealing with or have at some point dealt with a cycle, most likely. And a lot of those women have severe symptoms of PMS, and all of that comes with it. And to know that that doesn't have to be a given, that you
Mhm.
can do something about it, that's a game changer.
Yeah. And like I said, I had no clue. If you asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, you know what? I'm a woman. I have to deal with the PMS and the symptoms and the bleeding, and I don't have a choice because
Mhm.
that's what I was taught and that's what was offered to me. But I did have a choice, and once I chose to do things differently, everything changed.
I wish that they would teach this in schools because I know that in schools, yes, there are health classes that talk about what a menstrual cycle is and what to expect from symptoms, and just like, yes, you should expect to have bloating and you should expect to perhaps have a heavy bleeding. You should expect to have this intense cramping. That's all normal. It's all good. Like just this is part of being a woman. Welcome to being a woman.
Yep.
I wish that we could infuse this knowledge for people as young as possible so that they know that you don't have to live this way. You
Yeah.
really don't.
That's a long-term vision of
Yeah.
mine as well. And like I said, because it's now becoming an emerging topic and more people are talking about it, I think it will happen. And maybe not for this generation, but maybe the next one. Hopefully, we'll be more informed and
I
they'd
really
be
hope
able to make
so.
better choices.
Yeah, I really hope so. And I think that as more women are speaking out, the pendulum is starting to shift away from being so male dominated and where we get all of our knowledge from. And the female voice and the female perspective is so needed and missing for so long. So I just love that you are here and you're speaking about it and you're not shy about it. Because I know some people are like, oh, I don't want to talk about my period, or no, we need to talk about it. Like we all have it or have had it or will have it. And let's normalize it and let's have the conversation going and let's help other people.
Yes, agreed. I love that.
Yeah. So can you share a little bit about what the typical client that finds you, what are some of the common things that they are inspired to reach out to you for?
So, if you're a mom and you've had a couple of kids, just because of the fact that you had kids and now you're running around taking care of other human beings, your hormones may be out of whack. And if they're out of whack, you might feel chronically tired. You may feel stressed out about every little thing on your to do list, at work, at home. Anxiety can pop up. Again, irritability. If you're getting angry at silly things, like I'll give you an example. I yelled at my kids for because their movie was too loud and it woke me up one night and I was screaming and yelling at them and they were so scared and they was like, can we just lower the volume and finish the movie? And I was like, how did I get so angry over the volume of a movie, right? All I had to do was say, hey, can you turn it down a little bit? And instead of yelling and screaming at them, which is what I did, but um, I think the women are just feeling frustrated. Um, they may be eating healthy, they may be exercising,
Hmm.
which is what I was doing. I was eating lots of salads and I was exercising 45 to 60 minutes a day. And I thought I was doing all these healthy habits. And when I learned about cycle syncing, I was like, oh, I've been eating too little
Hmm.
and exercising too much. And so I had to start eating more foods, like nutrient dense foods, more proteins, more fruits and vegetables and things, and exercising less. And that's when I saw results. So I think the women are just kind of surviving, is what I like to call it.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're just day to day, trying to get through their to-do list, get through all the kids' activities, get everyone to bed, and then they're exhausted, but they can't sleep because their
Hmm.
brains are wired and they're worried about all these things. Um, and I like to talk about it as going from surviving to thriving in life,
Hmm.
where you feel better, you have energy, you find things that you're passionate about, you find a purpose, you find that you can be more present with your kids. You're not missing out on days of their lives because you're on the sofa with a heating pad on your belly, you know?
Hmm.
And it's a great shift for
Yeah.
somebody who, once you figure it out, it's a really amazing shift.
So it sounds like the women that reach out to you, it might not and probably isn't on the top of their list. Let me reach out to a coach because I'm having cycle issues. Like, no, you learn, and part of the coaching process is that you don't know what you don't know. So, as you're listening to these women talking and sharing, like, I yelled at my kids again, and I lost another day because my period cramps are awful. You
Yep.
just like, oh. Okay, well, let me give you a little bit of insight and let me help teach you and guide you. And
Yeah.
and that's awesome. And you like open up people's eyes to what is possible within them that they don't even know that they have. And
Yeah.
like, I wonder if you had not discovered this and had not implemented cycle syncing into your life, I wonder if you would be in this place where you would have started your coaching practice. Would you
No,
have been inspired to create a podcast, which I want
no.
to talk to you about as well? Um, you just like have all of these other doors open that you didn't know you had within you because you've taken care of yourself. And I think that so many people, especially women, can get caught in their heads and their thoughts and the spinning and the cycling in their minds that they don't pay attention and honor what's happening in their body. And
Hmm.
there's so much that happens in our bodies that influences everything in our lives that if we really tune into what our bodies are telling us, because they are communicating with us,
Hmm.
that we can change everything.
Yeah. No, I probably would have been in my same job that I started with. And, I loved the job. It was
Mhm.
a great place. It was flexible hours for my kids. The staff was wonderful, but I wasn't learning anything new. I wasn't growing.
Hmm.
And when I started working there, the staff has a really low turnover rate. Like people have been there for years and years and years. And I'm picturing myself like, wow, in 20 years, I could be here doing the same thing, seeing the same types of patients over and over again. And thankfully COVID hit, because if it wasn't for COVID and I didn't have the time sitting at home, I probably never would have reached for those cycle syncing books and never read them and learned that there was any other option. And I just would have been working the same. I would have been yelling at my kids. I would have been exhausted because I wasn't sleeping
Hmm.
and doing just the same old thing every day.
Silver lining for COVID. I mean, like
Yes.
everything seriously, and it does it for a lot of people, it gave them the space to be able to reconnect with themselves and their own values, that space that we all need to make deliberate time for ourselves to
Yes.
do. And we don't because we live in a society that's just the overworked physicians. You get 15 minutes, I'm overbooked, you're running late. And so who has time to sit and reflect about what else is out there? What else could I be doing? But thank goodness that that happened and gave you the time and space to be able to reimagine what your life could look like. How does it were you I'm curious because I get this a lot. I've been in my job for so long. There's nothing it would not be financially smart for me to step out and do something else. This is a given. I have a paycheck coming in. Why am I even questioning this? I can't do it. I won't do it. It's too scary. Did you have any of that?
Oh yeah. Um, yes, of course I did. But I was a stay-at-home mom for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, we learned how to live on one income.
Mm-hmm.
I learned couponing skills. I was always looking for sales and deals and this and that. And so I knew how to survive on one income. And when I started my coaching program, I was still working part-time, but eventually I left that job and I just have been coaching since then. And I'm still coaching just part-time. Um, so you know, in that transition period, I was used to living on one income.
Hmm.
And so that helped. Um, and then with the coaching, the hope is that I can provide financially too and help out.
Yeah.
So yeah, but because I think I had that time at home and we were on one income for so many years, like I already had that. But if you're working full time and you want to switch, I know you work with, women who want to get out of being stuck, right? And
Right.
if they're doing the same old things and they feel like there's something more for them. But start with one thing, right? So you can be working full time, but you can also start doing some things on the weekends or in the evenings or, you know,
That's such a good point. And I think that you just summed up so neatly what a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around is that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. You don't have to completely walk away from an established career to start something brand new. You can dabble in it a little bit, like test it
mhm.
out and see how it feels. And if something feels good, maybe put a little more energy in it. And if it doesn't feel good, then you tried it and nothing lost.
Yep.
That you can just pick one area, one thing that you're passionate about or curious about, and try it on for size.
Yeah. And I do that in our healing wellness journeys too, right? Like we don't do diet and exercise and stress reduction and sleep and everything all at once. Like we pick one thing,
Hmm.
let's get that going well for us, and then it flows into the other things,
That makes so much
like
sense.
everything else.
That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. And I was going, one of the questions I wanted to ask you, but now I don't think I should ask you, is if somebody's listening is like, if I have to pick one thing in my life to alter right now, like, because I can't do everything, what would you recommend for the one thing? And I don't know, can you answer that question or is that?
Well, there's two ways that yes, when I do get that question, there's two ways that I approach it. So one is, what's the most difficult thing for you right now? Or
Hmm.
what are you struggling with the most? And if you want to start with that, great. Baby steps each day will make big progress. But the other thing I tell people is, what's the easiest thing that we could fix?
Hmm.
So what's you want to start with small wins, right? So what's the easiest thing that we can work on that you're most willing to change and go from there? And then once you conquer that, you'll go to the next hardest thing and then the next hardest thing. And eventually you will hit the tough things that you're struggling with and dealing with. The question is, do you want to do it first or do you want to do it later? And either way is fine. There's no right answer to that.
Right. Yeah, it's a personalized thing. And I do love that you put it out there that although sometimes it might be tempting to want to go for the biggest, most upsetting thing in your life and fix that right away, sometimes the energy and what's required to fix that can be so great that if you're not able to have a win, that it could be so discouraging that you just give up altogether. So
Yeah.
I like that you shared that it's okay to pick something more attainable. It actually can be better for some people to pick something small that you can experience success with because that's going to give you the momentum to know, okay,
Yep.
they're doing this, is working. Like let's keep
Yep.
going with this.
It'll snowball and then you can tackle the bigger things as you know, feel better about the smaller things.
Absolutely. I wanted to, because you have such an interesting podcast. I was hoping you could talk a little bit about your podcast and what it is, what it's about, what inspired you to create the podcast.
So I already have a YouTube channel where I give more like straightforward health and wellness tips, like 5 ways to relieve your menstrual cramps or 6 ways to reduce stress, or it's very educational, basic,
Hmm.
here's some tips to get you started. And when I started my podcast, I wanted to take a different approach. Um, and I know all moms have crazy stories because our kids are wild and unpredictable and chaotic. And I know I have my own. So I know other moms have a bunch of stories. And I wanted them to have a place to share those stories where we can connect as a mom. I've had stories of One mom said she had 4 kids and she was taking two of them on to a weekend beach house, and one was in trouble, so she couldn't come, and she was home with her sister, but she stowed away in the car and ended up at the beach house. And then, I had another mom tell me about a story about when his son was being bullied by someone in the school, and she went and did some own work on her own inner child healing, and it helped him, and he was like, now this kid's my best friend. And it's
Wow.
been really fun to get to know moms and
Mhm.
hear some really funny stories. We've had some great laughs. And then at the end, we talk about lessons learned and challenges that the moms or the kids faced and how they overcame them. um, I think it's just a fun, light-hearted way to get to know people.
That's so cool. It's so relatable. I know. So every mom I know has so many stories, and it's beautiful that you've created a space to share that and to listen and laugh and have fun and know that you're not alone, because sometimes you just feel like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? Is this real life? Um, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's been a good. It's new, so
Mhm.
we're still learning, but I've had some really funny conversations with the moms. And now my kids are teenagers, so they'll, if they do something wrong, they know, and they'll be like, Mom, is this podcast
Don't
worthy?
talk about it.
I'm like, yep, that's going on next week.
One thing that I've heard you say over and over throughout this conversation that we've just had, in whatever we're talking about, is I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm learning. And I just love that you just share that, because I think like we're all students in life, and when we look at ourselves as always learning and growing, I think that's just wonderful that you
Yes.
frame the work that you're doing in that way. And yeah, and I think for myself, for anybody listening, we're all learning. We're always
Yeah,
learning. And
because I'm not perfect.
yeah, yeah. If you find the person that is, let me know, because I'd like to meet
Yeah,
them.
exactly. And even to this day, like, I've been practicing cycle syncing for 5 years now.
Hmm.
And there are some months that we have a lot more parties or whatever, weddings, parties, graduations, whatever it is. And I'll eat the foods that I know will give me symptoms, right? And
Hmm.
I won't be sleeping as well. And sure enough, I'll have symptoms the next month. But now I know why I'm having the symptoms, and I know how to get rid of them for the following month. But I
Hmm.
can't tell you that I'm symptom free every month, but I wish I was.
Right? Well, you're much better, it sounds like, than you were before you started this. So good for you. Good for you. I'm wondering if people are wanting to learn more and wanting to connect with you or find you, how can they locate you?
I am pretty active on social media. So I have both Facebook and Instagram, and you can find me at the Wealth of Wellness LLC. And I also have a free gift for anybody who wants to start learning about cycle syncing. If you head over to my website, thewealthofwellness.com, you will see a link to a free guide that will give you a brief introduction on cycle syncing and how to get started.
It's awesome. So, yes, if you're listening and want to know more, definitely get that free resource. That is amazing. Because that'll give people a place of where to start and what it is, and just a little bit more knowledge so that they can continue to learn about this. And I just love this. We're always learning and growing together.
Yes. And I have free resources too on my YouTube channel. So if you just want a quick video or something, same name, The Wealth of Wellness, just head on over there and you'll find free information if you're not ready for anything more than that.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate you putting out free resources and free information, because I know that that is time consuming and energy consuming to put out there, but it's so needed. Like so many people could benefit from this. So I appreciate your generosity of time and knowledge and putting free information out on YouTube. Wealth of Wellness is how they can find you, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Ami, any closing thoughts or messages that you would like to share with the audience today?
Yeah. Um, if you are feeling stuck and like you've lost your purpose for life, there are ways to change it, whether it's improving your physical symptoms or improving your mindset or, um, working with a coach like you. There are ways you can get over it. And I want everyone to wake up happy and excited to be doing whatever it is that they have planned for that day, whether it's work or whether it's being home with the kids or taking care of an older parent or whatever it is. I just want you to do it with some joy and passion.
Those are beautiful words of wisdom. Amidave, thank you again for sharing space with me today on the podcast and for starting this very important conversation to help women. I so appreciate you taking the time and sharing your knowledge today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.